You've worked hard. You've studied, planned, perhaps even moved, thinking you could stay in Australia after graduation, build a life, a career. But then, just when you thought everything was settled, the rules shifted. The goalposts moved. The age you thought was safe no longer is. Yes, in 2024-2025, Australia made sweeping changes to its temporary graduate visa, subclass 485. Especially the age limit. Many applicants are asking, does this mean I'm now too old? The answer, maybe and not quite, because there are important exemptions. Let's unravel what changed, why, when it came into force, and who gets spared. What changed and when? Effective date, the 1st of July, 2024, is when the major changes to subclass 485, temporary graduate visa, came into effect. Age limit reduction, for most applicants under two main streams: post-vocational education work, post-higher education work. The age ceiling was lowered from 50 years to 35 years. Stream renaming. The graduate work stream becomes post-vocational education work, and the post-study work stream becomes post-higher education work. Duration of stay under these categories also changed. For example, those completing bachelor's or coursework. Master's degrees can stay up to 2 years. Masters by research or PhD holders can stay up to 3 years under certain conditions. The key exemptions. Who is not affected by the new age limit? Though the default ceiling is now 35, Australia made significant carve-outs. If you fall under any of these, you may still apply even if you are older than 35, up to 50 in many cases. Here are the main exemptions. 1. Masters, by research, and doctoral PhD graduates. If your qualification is a by research master's or a doctorate, PhD, you remain eligible up to 50 years old at the time of application. This exemption preserves opportunity for those who take longer to complete research degrees or who are older when finishing them. 2. Hong Kong passport holders and British national, overseas, passport holders. Holders of these passports are exempted from the lowered 35-year age limit. They too can apply up to 50 years if eligible under the relevant streams. 3. Other minor or specific exemptions. While outside these two main ones, some locales may offer additional allowances. For example, durations of stay vary for Indian nationals under the Australia-India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, AIECTA, for certain graduates, which sometimes affect how long you can stay. Note, these are not age exemptions per se, but they modulate how some people benefit after qualifying under an eligible stream. What this means in practice. Australia's 2025 visa age limit update isn't just a bureaucratic adjustment, it's a strategic recalibration of who the country wants to attract, retain, and integrate into its future workforce. By lowering the age limit from 50 to 35 for most temporary graduate visa holders, the government is clearly signalling a shift toward youth-driven, long-term economic sustainability. However, the exemptions, especially for research graduates, Masters by Research, and PhD, and Hong Kong BNO passport holders, reveal that this policy isn't purely restrictive. Instead, it reflects a nuanced approach, rewarding highly skilled, innovation-oriented, or geopolitically significant groups. In other words, it's not about age alone, it's about value and contribution. From an analytical standpoint, this change is both a filter and a funnel. A filter to reduce the inflow of older temporary migrants without clear long-term economic pathways. A funnel to channel younger, highly qualified, or strategically chosen individuals into Australia's talent pipeline. For international students and skilled professionals, the message is unmistakable. Australia is tightening eligibility, but not closing doors. The opportunity remains open for those who plan early, qualify strategically, and align their education or research path with Australia's economic goals. In short, the 2025 visa age limit update doesn't eliminate chances, it elevates the standard. The future belongs not to those who wait, but to those who adapt early and position themselves smartly within this new framework. The subclass 485 visa, temporary graduate visa, or TGV, is a pathway for international students who have completed eligible studies in Australia to remain temporarily, work, and possibly use that period toward permanent residency. The visa has been broken into various streams, traditionally including graduate work, post-study work, etc., depending on what someone studied, vocational vs higher education, and where. Up until mid-2024, key features included an age limit of under 50 years for many applicants, regardless of the stream. Different permit durations depending on degree type, bachelor's, master's, coursework, master's by research, and PhD all had different stay lengths, some longer than others. English language requirements that were somewhat lower or more flexible. In some streams, extensions or longer stay periods, depending on qualifications or overseas. Agreements, for example, for Indian graduates under AIECTA. Why the change? Starting late 2023 into early 2024, the Australian government, through its migration strategy, decided to strengthen and simplify the subclass 485 visa program. Part of the motivation included ensuring international graduates better align with Australia's labour market needs. Younger graduates have longer potential working life ahead, and tightening age may help filter for those who can contribute longer. Addressing what some saw as permanent temporariness, people finishing study but unable to transition toward permanent residency due to age or other criteria. Because many permanent skilled migration paths have age caps, often 45. Having older graduate visa holders beyond certain ages could be less useful if they cannot transition. International students, especially those over mid-30s. The policy both narrows eligibility for many and preserves opportunities for others, particularly for those in research streams or holding certain passports. If you are under 35, at the time of applying for subclass 485 under the post-vocational or post-higher education work streams, and you do not fall under a research degree or one of the passport exemptions, you are fine. The new rules apply to you. If you are over 35 and do not have a research degree PhD, or do not hold one of those exempted passports, then you cannot apply under the new standard 35-year limit. Why Australia made this change? While I won't dig too deep here unless you want, a few motivations can be inferred. To better align temporary graduate visa holders with labour market demand, favouring younger graduates who can spend more years working after study, to somewhat reduce visa hopping, or long stays under temporary visas without transitioning to permanent residency, to ensure fairness and consistency across streams, especially in balancing qualifications. Research degrees generally take longer, with age. What you should do if you're affected. If you think you might be caught by the lowered age limit, here are steps. 1. Check if your degree is by research or if you have PhD. If yes, you have the age exemption. 2. Check your passport type, Hong Kong, BNO, if that might give you the exemption. 3. If none of the exemptions apply, explore alternative visas, employer-sponsored, state-nominated skilled visas, etc., which might have different age rules or waivers. 4. Plan ahead. If you're close to the age limit, don't delay graduation or visa application more than necessary. Possible grey areas and uncertainties. What by research exactly covers? There have been questions over what qualifies, whether the application date or completion date matters more for calculating age. For those finishing degrees very near the cutoff age, there may be specific transitional or grandfathering provisions.